On today's episode of E-Commerce Heroes, I'll be talking to Gil Lang about Amazon Europe. We'll be covering the mistakes that sellers make, which marketplace to start on, and Gil will be giving his top tips for starting out on Amazon's European marketplaces. In today's episode of E-Commerce Heroes, we'll be talking to Gil Lang about Amazon Europe. Gil is an Amazon private labeler and coach. He's also the co-host of the Private Label Journey podcast and the co-founder of the huge Private Label Days Summit in Germany. So Gil, I think a lot of sellers appreciate the opportunity that Amazon Europe presents, but I think all too often they can rush themselves and dive straight in before they've actually got a game plan, and then it can get a bit messy. So, what kind of horror stories have you seen where sellers have dived straight in without doing the preparation first?
Thanks. First of all, that I can be here and share my knowledge. I'd love to do that. But first of all, I think there are two sides that a lot of people don't understand. Before you start selling in Europe, you need to think about your company structure, right? You need to think how you want to scale this. So some people just jump in, send products into Germany or into England, and then they start selling, those US-based sellers. And they never think about VAT or this kind of stuff. So this can go horribly wrong if the financial department is closing your bank accounts and stuff like that. So I actually know a guy this happened to, and I helped him out. Not with the financial aspect. This is not really my kind of thing, but I helped him with his Amazon account, etc., because he got into trouble there. So the whole company's setup, structure, all this kind of stuff, you have to at least strategically think about it. And the other part is just going with the Google Translate version. So this I see really a lot of times, and these are bigger brands that are really successful over there in the US, and then they just Google Translate all their listings and bring them to Germany. And I really don't understand why they would do that, because from the sales I can see they are doing a good business over there in the US, and they should have just, if you go for Europe, do it right. Don't just slap something up there. It's not going to work, even though it's maybe easier than the US. So these are the kind of two things. They don't think about company setup, company structure at all. And then if they start, they just slap something up there and think it's going to work by not doing anything. And yeah, these are the big failures, I think.
I mean, it's pretty clear from what you've just said there, Gil, that, kind of this isn't, there's areas of e-commerce that I think you can experiment with and try out. But I think this is one that you need to, do your due diligence on before you just launch straight in. But I think sellers will also be kind of hesitant because, they think there's quite a lot of work involved with sort of working out how much VAT you might be liable for and sort of working out the logistics of how you're going to ship your products into Europe. So is there a kind of quick and dirty way to test Amazon Europe that is sort of a bit less risky than just diving straight in without a plan?
So the first thing that I would do to test is that a lot of people I hear, they want to start in all of Europe. So that's Spain, Italy, France, England, and Germany. And they use the Pan-EU program, which is a program that allows Amazon to store your products in all those different countries. But what that brings with it is that you have to pay VAT in all those countries. You don't want to do that. The easiest way, from my point of view, is try to open an account with your existing company. Maybe it's an American company. You'll have to have a look into this if that makes sense for you. But if that works out for you, just start that one, ship it in, and just see where you go with maybe the one product that you think has the most potential for the German market. Please do a market research for Germany. It might be different than America, than the States, and then ship it into England. And from England, you can still export to all the other German countries. You don't have to do Pan-EU directly. So I think that's the easiest way to start. And then see, and if you have the market potential and you see the one product is going good and you have maybe your freelancers or your partners you work with, then you can scale up.
And besides the kind of, the kind of elements that we've mentioned before, how about sort of the things that people might forget, such as listing? If I was selling a product in the US and, aside from, doing a bit of translation on my listing, if I just kind of listed it with the same level of detail and basically the same facts I'd included, How would that fare in Germany? Are German consumers looking at more from their listings? How would I need to alter that for it to be successful?
Yeah, the German customer is a special customer for sure compared to especially to the American one, because as far as I see it, the American consumer is he's an impulsive buyer. A lot of them, they just buy stuff online. They love to shop and they just spend money, and that's how the whole um, American country is built, right? It's built on credit cards and credit card debt. So they love to spend the money, and that's good for us as e-commerce sellers. The Germans are a little bit different. Of course, they love to spend and they love to buy good, cool stuff, but they want to get more technical information. Of course, they don't want to get bored. But I really advise everyone to tone down the marketing language a little bit from the American one and give some information. So I'd like to do a combination of marketing and everything the customer gets from it, and then combine it with a technical aspect that actually brings this. While in America, you could just say, this is the most effective weight loss pill ever invented, buy it now. You might include in Germany what's in there and how it actually becomes this amazing weight loss pill. Where in America, sometimes you wouldn't even have to do that. So this is something special. And I also like to mention one other thing that a lot of people forget. In Germany, it's not allowed to send people emails after they bought on Amazon, but you can still go for it. It's up to your risk management, of course. But what's really important is you'll get a hard time getting reviews, because the German customer, he expects a 5-star product. And if he gets a really awesome 5-star product, he'll not do anything. It's just what he expects from the product. But if it's not a good product, maybe it's a 3-star product from his point of view, he'll leave you a review. So most of the time you'll get bad reviews. So yeah, you'll have to come up with a solution on that side.
Okay, and talking about kind of the German consumers, what's the appetite like for private label products in Germany? Do they prefer the more established brands, or are they willing to try perhaps a flourishing private label brand?
That always depends on kind of the area where you want to market, right? So if you sell cars, it's probably different than if you sell a garlic press. We all know that, but generally it's good to you can do the same as you do in America. So you can go against the established brands, especially on Amazon, but also in the whole e-commerce with your own e-commerce store if you have a cool story. And I don't think it's any different than over in America. So yeah.
And have you seen private label brands from America that have done well on sort of Amazon.com translate over to kind of Amazon's European market?
Yeah, it's getting more and more. Like, I think more and more people over in the States, they realize what a big opportunity it still is in Germany, and just to get more market with existing products. So more and more American brands, I can see them switching over to the German market, to the European market, with a lot of success with the tactics and strategies that they use to be successful in the US, because it's just easier still in Germany.
And I think something that, you've almost touched on there is, I think American sellers do see Amazon Europe as a big opportunity. And I've always thought that a big part of that is because it's perceived that kind of Amazon's European marketplaces are less competitive. I mean, in your experience of selling on them, do you think that's true, or is that now starting to change?
Of course, it's starting to change. I'm not the first one talking about Amazon, or we are not the first one to talk about Amazon Europe, but it's still different than the States. In the States, you do have the opportunities of really smaller niches, which then you can go in, which you don't have that much in Germany, because the market is just less big, like smaller, but it's still a lot less competitive. If you just look at the amount of reviews, for example, even Germany is less competitive than the UK out of my position. That's what I think, yeah.
And I mean, I'm just out of interest, Gil, if I was, for US sellers watching this who might be thinking of expanding to Amazon's European marketplaces, which European marketplace would you say is kind of the best place to start? Or again, is it quite product specific?
I would definitely start in the UK, and because it's just, you don't need that much, you don't have the language barrier. At least you understand what your text guy writes, right? So you don't have that. So you can, and then from that UK base, you can go to all the different other countries. And then I'd say Germany a second place because just the biggest market. If you speak German, go for German directly. It's a better market than the UK, out of my point of view, but you of course have the language barrier. And then France, Italy, Spain depends on your product segment, but they're a lot smaller.
Okay, so I've got one final question for you, Gil. So for sellers who've been watching, they've been listening to what you've said, and they're now, seriously considering expanding onto Amazon's European marketplaces. What are your e-commerce heroes' top 3 tips for those sellers? What do they need to think about before they dive straight in?
Okay, so first off, we talked about it before, but please make sure that you have a proper translation. Don't go for a Google translation. I know I said it before, but I don't think I can say it most often enough. I've seen terrible listings with established brands from the US having these shitty translations over here in Germany. Please get somebody who knows the language, maybe best its mother tongue, and also who has some knowledge of Amazon. And the second thing is, don't forget about your brand, right? If you have an established brand, you really try to get that story over to the other market. Think about how you maybe position yourself a little bit differently if it's need to in Germany. So translation, brand, and the third one, it's really boring. It's VAT. VAT, please make sure to understand how it works over here, what you have to do, because you don't want to get in trouble with they call it IRS in America. So everybody knows you don't want to have trouble with these guys. So please make sure to get at least a little bit of consultation before you start.
Well, Gil, thank you very much for joining us. That's all we've got time for today. So thanks to everybody at home for watching, and we'll see you for another episode of E-Commerce Heroes again soon here at Web Retailer.